Hello and welcome back to SliverStar Arcade and more of the Great Ace Attorney. In the last episode, we started the trial. And we got swamped. Everyone voted guilty for the jury. But then we discovered there's this other thing where we can ask the jurors why they voted guilty. And yeah, we uncovered a lot of stuff. Go back and watch it. But I've also been staring at this screen and make observations. So for one, the grandma over there doesn't move at all. And then jurors 4 and 5, their eyes almost sync up. But, for the most part, juror 5's eyes look like they're far apart. The guy, number 3 is going to be a problem. And I'm wondering if number 2 is the maid for number 1. Probably not. But at the same time, if you notice, both juror number 1 and number 2 are perfectly in sync with their blinking. Like, if you just sit here and watch, they both blink at the exact same time, at the exact same intervals. And if you watch the screen enough, it becomes weird. Anyways, the Jurors Contentions. Oh, there's the audio. I was wondering what it was. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say. Absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collected all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. It beggars belief. I'm starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors don't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments, though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I'll have to throw everything I can at them, and use some very persuasive language. Just a moment, Mr. Naruto. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. Oh? I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they're unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning, you see. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you the more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. Then what on earth am I supposed to do? Oh dear, I'm just citing what I've read about British law, Mr. Naruto. Right, I'm sorry. Do you have any idea how to make this work then? Well, from what I understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a unified front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down, you mean? Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says, and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, then we contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. Ooh! I see, so it's contradictions in what 2 or more jurors say that we're looking for. In a way, then, this is similar to a regular cross-examination. Oh, yes, I suppose you're right. This is such a good game. Find contradictions in their statements and pit the jurors against one another to break them down. Alright, I might be able to pull this off. No, that's not right. I have to pull this off. Can we start proceedings, counsel? I would ask you take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal. Yes, my lord. He's getting a little bit of confidence in him. Ooh. Jury examination. The defense's rebuttal. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. Alright, we are gonna save because I feel like you can mess up badly here. Press. Hold it! Certainly, the testimonies we've heard suggest the victim and Mr. McGillard were alone inside the carriage. Precisely my point. But could there be some other explanation? Something we haven't considered yet? Such as? Well, perhaps that's something we could, all work out together now? Now listen here, maybe you don't know how things work around here because you're from foreign climes, but we're here to form our opinions as individuals, and I have. Oh dear, he doesn't appear to be in the mood to consider an alternative point of view, does he? No, we want to have to pit the jurors against one another, like Sosoda-san said. Finding contradictions in these 6 people's assertions is the only way I'm going to succeed. Alright, got it. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory. It seems 4 passengers. Okay. He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say, absolutely brazen. I haven't raised it. The scoundrel, shoving that poor man on the floor. Pit against objection. These 2 statements are completely contradictory. What? Explain, counsel. Post haste. Oh dearie me, I was only needing a jumper for my other half. No. What is all this claptrap? What does contradictory even mean, I ask you? We've heard from more than one witness that they all allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Oh, look at this! Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3. What? Can't you see I'm busy here? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? Huh! Want to test me, do you? It was like this. Stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. Just like the Brim Banker said. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony. Quite true. Now then, juror number 6. Oh, is that me, is it? What can I do for you, young man? How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam? Oh, well, dear, as far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so. Now don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up. And he stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. Well, I never. They're stabbing in totally different directions. What? Bless my stitches, what a muddle. What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. Oh! But why? Why the dickens would they lie? I don't know that yet, but what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience? Lies, you say? Oh, dearie me. Listen to this music! I can't abide people telling lies. Wait, that's not a reason to vote innocent. The scales. I don't believe it. Wait! Now hear this, my fellow jurors. I warn you, you cannot listen to this man. Look at him in his black suit. He's clearly some devious Eastern sorcerer using magic on us all. If I could use magic, do you really think I'd be putting myself through all this? Answer me this, Dark Jinx. Huh? Me? What exactly is the problem? What of it if two witnesses have slightly different recollections of the events? What of it? Let's say the Shylock did stab the victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus, and this young dandy saw him do it. Now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again, and this old lady saw him do it. Well, what's to say it didn't happen like that, Who you calling a dandy, sir? Why, I should take this knife to you. Who are you calling old? Why, I should take this needle to you. They're ready to kill each other now. Could the foreman of the jury be right? Did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime? It's possible, because the coachman stopped after the scream, which I forgot to mention in the last episode, but that's weird. So the coachman claims that there was a scream from Mr. Lady First, and they stopped the carriage and turned around and saw the moment of the crime, but Lady First screamed because they saw the crime. So the crime happened twice. It's true. There's an outside chance of almost anything you care to mention. Exactly the point I've been trying to make. Before you go any further, Mr. Naruto. Oh, what is it, Mr. Soda? I think you should have a look through the court record. You see? This evidence makes it quite clear. This isn't even an outside chance of what the juror is saying. How did I miss that? What's going on with the audio? Okay, which part are we talking about? Was it this? Stabbed once in the abdomen with a knife. It is out of the question. Shoot, I completely forgot about this. Alright, let me try to fix the audio. There we go, that's a bit better. How did I miss that? Unfortunately, Mr. Foreman. What is it, you dark jinx? Come on, out with it! What you're suggesting is impossible. It's out of the question. What are you talking about, man? How can you possibly say that? You do realize I'm only doing my job. As foreman of the jury, I have a responsibility to steer everyone in the right direction. So where's your evidence, man? That's what we want to see. I say the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime. If you say that's out of the question, show me some proof. It looks like the only way I'm going to convince him is to present him with something he can't dismiss. Some irrefutable hard evidence. As you wish. What? I'll give you the proof. It's out of the question that the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime as proven by the autopsy report.
Take that!
Take that! This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen. Only once. Only once? It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely one time. Which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen two different times. Alright, I concede defeat. Really? That was it? Oh, well done, Mr. Naruto. You did it. My voice. If we can manage to change two more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. Two more. Actually, there is something else that's bothering me about a couple of their assertions. Then that's where you must strike next. So I need to pit two more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertion. Exactly, you can do it. I think it would be the maid and Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your summation examination. I'm no lover of the rich, but I despise liars even more. Innocent is my call, for now at least. I have simply typed and collected all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. Dear me, you can't make accusations based on lies. I wonder if the poor man is innocent after all. Wait, no. So we just need to find 2 jurors with contradictory statements, put them against each other. Which is much easier said than done. Is that perhaps what you were just thinking? How did you know? Well, I took the liberty of doing some research in case you happen to find yourself in just this situation. Shall I read you what I found? It is a little long, I'm afraid. Yeah, sure. Very well. Listen to this. During the summation examination, you will hear the assertions of the 6 members of the jury. In this situation, the counsel for the defense should use pit. Oh, so it's just showing us the answer. You'll be able to compare the... Select the corresponding buttons and listen to each other juror's assertion again. Note that you cannot choose the assertion of the juror you initially selected. Nor can you choose assertions of jurors who have changed their lean into not guilty already. Once you've compared the various jurors' assertions, work out which two contradict each other, then pit them together. I see. She wasn't joking when she said it was long. The first step is to listen very carefully to what each individual juror has to say. Then I'm sure you'll start to see which ones might not quite agree with each other. Yes. Alright then. Let's get this right now, so I never have to listen to that long and boring explanation again. That's the spirit. There's no one else. Alright, there's no one else inside the carriage at the time, so we have to have been him. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory. It seems 4 passengers with fares. I've simply typed and collected all statements thus far. Chronological conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. Maybe I want to say these.
Objection!
Clearly contradict each other.
Hold it!
The foreman of the jury. I refuse to accept. Okay. It's important to take your time considering which statements contradict each. None of them do. Alright, wait, no. I've watched people say this and then I've gotten angry at them. I've simply typed and collected all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fares are motto. We haven't raised prices. So... No! I meant to go the other way. No, I don't. Not right now. No, I need to work this out for myself. Is that perhaps what you were just thinking? Oh, so Soto is saying that. Jesus, she can read our mind. Well, that sort of attitude is most admirable. I know what I have to do. Let's listen to those assertions one more time. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to be him. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. That's the It's math. Math is the contradiction. We haven't raised prices over 4 pence. 20 pence. 4 times 4 is not 20.
Objection!
These two statements clearly contradict each other. They do? Explain yourself, counsel. Me? Oh dear, what have I said? I swear on Silver Blaze's name and name I haven't the first idea what you're talking about. According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus on the night in question. And according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares. Quite right. I have those precise details typed neatly in front of me. And juror number 5 also told us the following. The fare for the omnibus is always 4 pence. That it is, a fair and convenient single price, just the way London's carriages should be operated. But that doesn't add up at all. In fact, it leaves a glaring discrepancy in the facts. Why, man, why? 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. If you do the multiplication, it would be 16 pence. Exactly. As I said, it doesn't add up. The figures are different. By 4 pence, in fact, or precisely 1 person's fare. 1 person's fare? Yes, in other words, on the omnibus that night, it's distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Good gracious! This music is so good. This can't be right. The coachmen of the guild are good, honest men, one and all. Trustworthiness is our watchword. The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. I beg your pardon? Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus. Alright then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end, Aw, look at the soda. Well, according to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire onto the innocents on the set of scale. Now hold your horses there, coachman. We were all in agreement. Why do you have to go in? Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo. This is all very irritating. Begging your pardon, sir. I'm going to do the same. For the love of Mike, not you as well! A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters. Oh, really? I, for one, think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Wait, that means 4 jurors are now leaning to not guilty. We've done it, Mr. Naruto. We've won. Not quite yet. Also, that pose was adorable. What are you playing at, you dandy fool? Shut your trap, sir. No one deceives me. We had a consensus. I said shut your trap. I know a liar when I see one. And if the chap ever dares to cross the threshold of my shop, I'll take this razor-sharp blade and shave every last hair off his head. Sir? Sir? Please put that tongue away. Please tell me he's a barber. Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defense summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand for 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority among the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places. And I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. So, Lord Van Zieks, continuing to sustain the case for the prosecution, if you please. I forgot his voice already. Oh, shit. Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zieks! Is it cold in here, or is it just me? As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during the summation examination. So I honor the deathly silence and listen to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove as a self-evident truth, it would seem. No, and why else would we grace the courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Oh! Bring forth the witnesses once more! God damn! Looking like a general in the army. Witnesses! Well, I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure.
Oh, yes, sir. That I did, sir.
Of course I heard it.
Oh, yes, sir. I heard it.
You, sir, on the end. The coachman, I believe it's Beppo.
Yes, sir, my lord, sir.
If it transpires that in your previous testimony, you were attempting to violate the presence of a fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear that in mind, sir.
Oh, good deal.
Now then, witnesses, I hereby call on you to testify before the court again. You will explain the various misgrievance brought to our attention by the defense's summation examination. Witness testimony is out the various misgivings.
I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear it. But,
Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus.
I knew it. There were 4 people, but they all paid 5. He fiddled us on the fare, he did. Then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
I tell you, I saw McGillis stabbing that man. Everything I said before stands.
Oh, yes, he stabbed him. Yes, he did. I think so, yes.
Counsel, make sense of this for me, please. The phantom fifth passenger conjured into existence by my learned Eastern friend never existed. The confusion has arisen from the coachman's sly little cozenage? Beppo, explain yourself.
I'm terribly sorry, Guildmaster.
The guild's fare is 4 pence across the board, you know that. Am I to understand that you've been overcharging our passengers by a penny a fare?
It's so cold, and the last run of the day is always half empty.
You have been dishonest, coachman.
I'm sorry.
You're a disgrace, Beppo, a disgrace. And your selfish actions have brought dishonor on the entire guild.
If I may, sir, I had to pay 10 pence on the bus just last week. What? 4 passengers at 5 pence each is, yes, 20 pence. I've done the arithmetic 10 times already, but I just can't make the results come out differently. No, that figures.
Well, it would appear that one of the aforementioned misgivings has already been explained. So, counsel for the defense, your cross-examination, if you please. We've already had the pleasure of a protracted summation examination today. I see you intend to continue the parlor games. Absolutely. We are scared shitless. Cross-examination. Various misgivings. One quick second. Sorry for the pause there. Various misgrievance.
I only carried 4 passengers that night, I swear it, but,
Press.
Hold it!
So there were only 4 passengers on your carriage, but you didn't charge them the standard 4 pence fare. Is that right? It's impossible to make the last run of the day pay. I was so cold. It was all I could do to stop myself from passing out. I'm getting chilblains for just listening to you. It was terrible, so I wanted to give myself a pat on the back for even keeping the bus running. Doesn't a dedicated coachman deserve an extra penny per passenger? You're digging a deeper hole for yourself here. If only there had been a 5th passenger on the omnibus that night. Then we would have had another suspect. Well, I for one was told I had to pay 5 pence for the bus.
Hold it!
Does that mean everyone on board that night paid 5 pence instead of 4?
Well, I paid 5 pence too, sir.
And I just told you that I did.
That's fair.
5 pence across the board. It's not something to be proud of. The so-called discrepancy my learned friend identified was nothing of the sort. Much like the phantom killer you so desperately needed, it's gone, dead and buried. I'd have been happy if it had ever existed in the first place.
He fiddled us on the fare, he did. And then I saw that blood-curdling sight as well. It's all too much.
Hold it! This blood-curdling sight? You mean the murder, I presume?
Yes, sir.
A loathsome sight. No one should have to witness the horror in the eyes of a man the moment his life is taken.
Oh, well, not exactly, sir. I mean, I didn't actually see the exact moment the gent was stabbed.
Good gracious, really? We have another witness who did, however. The banker has already testified to it. Ah, but Mr. First didn't actually see the point at which the victim was killed. That may turn out to be very significant. I heard the banker gent next to me take a sharp intake of breath. See, that's why I looked through. That's when I saw the horrible blade poking out from his belly, all covered in blood. Every time I see a knife now, I can't help screaming, even when I'm eating. I can tell you I saw McGill stabbing that man, if I said before.
Hold it!
So you saw the defendant, Mr. McGill, stabbing the victim, Mr. Mason, who was sitting next to him? That's what I said, isn't it? It was bothering me before, this was. For just a brief moment, he hesitated before answering the question. Anyway, there was only 2 of them inside the carriage, wasn't there? There's been much talk of a 5th passenger, but as of yet, 0 evidence. Then what are we wasting all this time for, eh? It's black and white, the man's guilty. Something about Mr. Fairplace's testimony just jars with me. Wish I could work out what it was. Yes, he stabbed him, he did. I think so, yes.
Hold it!
Earlier, you testified you saw the moment when the defendant allegedly stabbed the victim, didn't you? Oh, yes, that's right. You said that the victim was on the floor and described the assailant holding the knife in an ice pick grip. Wait, you said the victim was on the floor. I suppose. I might have, yes, put the cart before the horse, maybe. What's this? Well, I'm quite sure about most of it. I was driving the horse when I heard a scream from the seats on the roof deck. Oh, I expected that was me, sir. Then when I turned around, yes, I saw it through the skylight. The gentleman was on the floor, and the knife was sticking up out of his midriff. That's right, yes, and the fellow holding the handle was the famous man, yes. So in short, you didn't see the moment when the victim was actually stabbed at all. I really thought I did, but when I go over it again in my head, no, I suppose I didn't actually see the precise moment of the stabbing knife, did I? What'd he say?
Excuse me!
Do you have something to say about that, Mr. Fairplay? Now you listen to me. I know what you're thinking. He didn't really see the exact moment that fellow was stabbed. What are the chances of that? Eh? Are you asking me or telling me? He's getting flustered. I might be able to extract some new information from him if I answer him cleverly. Could he have just happened to see the exact moment? I'm gonna save. No chance. Well, it is a little hard to believe, certainly. Unless you spend your time peeping through a skylight at the top of... that is. Stephen, I'm a respectable city banker, I'll have you know. And I know what I saw. I remember it clear as a Ballarat day? It was a grim scene, I don't mind telling you. Thank you, Mr. Fairplay. Oh, excuse me if I was getting a little hot under the collar there, my lord. I would ask you supplement your testimony with a clear statement about what exactly you saw. Oh, I can do that alright. I'll tell you just how grim it was. Do you think I'd forget the sight of those blood-soaked hands after the butcher stabbed the man? Present?
Objection!
Blood-soaked hands? Well, I admit that soaked might be laying it on a little thick, but anyway, there was definitely blood all over them. Both of them were covered in it. Well, I'm very sorry to disagree, Mr. Fairplay, but that's more than a little peculiar. What? Here are the gloves worn by the defendant, Mr. McGillid, on the night in question. Oh, yes, right. And there certainly does appear to be a sizable dark-colored stain there. But, as I'm sure you can clearly see, it's only on the right-hand glove. In short, Mr. Fairplay, your testimony is inconsistent. But, no, that can't be right. So you're the liar here, then? Nom 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 nom. That's right. You were quite clear, but you said it was both hands. Mr. Fairplay, if your last statement was a lie, it calls your entire testimony into question. You say you saw the moment the victim was stabbed, but is that really the truth?
Objection!
It was a simple mistake. You can't justify accusing this man of lying. Yes, it wasn't both hands, it was only one. But the fact remains, the victim's blood was on the accused.
Objection!
No, Mr. Fairplay categorically say they saw the blood all over both hands, which means there's a strong possibility that this witness was deliberately trying to mislead the court. What? I'm a city banker, for pity's sake. My word should be the gold standard. I'm a gentleman, not some gutter snipe. Upstanding members of society don't prevaricate. He's claiming to have no reason to lie. But is that really the case? Mr. Naruto? Oh, maybe he's not the... At first I thought he was a killer, but maybe... Either way, even if he's not the killer, he has motive for wanting to put McGillard behind prison. Because if McGillard goes to prison, he doesn't have to pay him money. So either he killed the guy and stole his money so he can pay off McGillard, or he's framing McGillard to put him in prison so that he doesn't have to pay. Mr. Naruto, if we had some evidence to explain why Mr. Fairplay might be lying, it could turn the tide in this trial completely. Something to show this man has compelling reason to lie in his testimony. I have evidence. My lord. Yes, counsel? The defense is ready to present evidence. By Jove, are you sure? Yes, evidence that will clearly demonstrate why Mr. Fairplay had reason to lie in his testimony. Ugh. Very well. I hereby call on the defense to present its evidence. The evidence that demonstrates a motive for the witness's alleged deception of the court. It would be...
Take that!
This is a list of the debtors who owe money to Mr. McGillard. Yes, a list of innocent victims crippled by the accused extortion. The point is, among the names of these debtors is your name, Mr. Bruce Fairplay. What? Mr. Fairplay, are you currently indebted financially to the accused? No. Well, it's barely worthy of being called a debt. According to this ledger, you owe 20 guineas, not an inconsiderable sum of money, wouldn't you say? Well, what of it? Let's suppose Mr. McGillard were to be found guilty of murder. What would become of your debt in that case? These documents state that the loan agreement is forged between two individual parties. Therefore, were the creditor, the defendant here, to be sentenced to a capital punishment, all outstanding debts which were owed to him would be annulled. They would cease to exist. Cease to exist? Mr. Fairplay, is it not the case that you claimed in your testimony to have seen something you never in fact saw, in a devious attempt to annul your debt of 20 guineas to the defendant? Gah. Ah. Order, order, order! Mr. Bruce Fairplay. Yes, my lord. Let me ask you again. And be aware that your answer may have most serious implications upon your future, sir. Did you or did you not see the precise moment in time at which the defendant is alleged to have thrust a knife into the victim? Your silence speaks volumes. You did not tell the truth in your testimony. Alright. Now let's not make a melodrama out of this. Perhaps I did overstate the truth a pinch. A pinch? But it makes no difference. I definitely remember seeing blood on McGilden's hands. Both of them.
Objection!
And yet, only one of the defendant's gloves, which we have here as evidence, is stained. So you keep saying.
I wonder if I might be allowed to speak, sir?
Go ahead, Mr. First.
Well, the thing is, I think I remember seeing it myself as it happens.
Seeing what?
The blood, sir, on the assailant's hands. I think, yes. I'm almost sure that was on both of his hands, not just one.
What? What?
Oh no.
It would appear that we're going to need further testimony from all of you witnesses. This time, I would like to know precisely what you did and what you did not see. Do I make myself perfectly clear? Yes.
Mr. Naruto? This is good news. The course of the trial seems to have shifted slightly at last. Yes. I might finally have a chance to turn things around here. Yeah, we can go for a bit longer. What the witnesses really saw.
There was blood on both hands of the assailant. I sincerely and distinctly remember that. However, I suppose you might say I didn't see the exact moment of the stabbing transpired, if that matters.
I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attackers' hands with blood on them. I didn't actually see anything myself, no, not until I heard that scream.
Anyway, the fact remains, there can't have been anyone else inside that carriage where we all would have seen. Well, lo and behold, in truth of fact, not one of you was witness to the crucial moment the crime was perpetrated. I apologize, my lord, but honestly, there was no one else inside that carriage, and the man's hands were covered in blood. That much incriminating evidence is tantamount to saying we saw the man do it.
That's really not what testimony is about.
Let us examine the interior of the omnibus once more. The victim's fresh blood is clearly visible on the seat, corroborating the witnesses' accounts. In other words, there is no substantial nor significant change in the facts of the case. Very well. Your cross-examination, please, counsel.
Yes, my lord.
Cross-examination. What the witnesses really saw. There was blood on both hands of the assailant. Yeah. Press.
Hold it!
No, the evidence tells us otherwise. We have the gloves the defendant was wearing on the night in question in the court record.
Well, I'm aware of that, sir, but nevertheless, I know what I saw and I stand by it. The man had blood on both his hands.
He's defiant, even in the face of hard evidence.
He steadfastly refuses
to admit that he might be mistaken about what he saw. But why?
Your reasoning is dire. One hand or two, the salient point remains unchanged. Minutes after the grim crime, the victim's blood dripped guiltily from the accused's fingers. However, I suppose you might say I didn't see the exact moment the stabbing transpired, if that matters.
Hold it!
Don't try to downplay this. Whether or not you saw the exact moment of the crime is a matter of fundamental importance as well as you know.
But... For crying out loud, we all know that no one else could possibly have done it. I was just trying to save us all some time.
You have a loan of 20 guineas outstanding with the defendant, do you not? Had you hoped to release yourself from that financial burden by ensuring the defendant was found guilty?
Well, that's not entirely not what I was hoping for. I just lost a little guinea or 10 when I backed the wrong horse in the derby, that's all. I was going to win it all back. There's a fixture this weekend, that's a sure thing.
A little guinea or 10.
I'm a banker. No one bats an eye if I borrow a little spending money for the weekend. I think you may have revealed rather more about your character than you bargained for, sir. This witness's scruples are not on trial here. Proceed to the next witness.
Is this really how it's supposed to work? I remember seeing the knife, and I remember seeing both of the attackers' hands with blood on them.
Hold it!
You definitely saw that too. Both blood on both hands. Yes, sir. I mean, I know what you're going to say. Only one of Mr. McGillicud's gloves has signs of blood on them.
That's right.
The thing is, as far as I remember, sir, when I looked down and saw Mr. McGillicud sitting beside the other fellow, I don't believe he was wearing any gloves, sir. He wasn't wearing these gloves? That's correct, sir, and I saw the blood on both his bare hands quite clearly. It's true that the dark-colored stain on the dark leather gloves wouldn't have been easy to see.
I should point out that the police officer who apprehended the accused on the night in question reported that there were no trace of blood on Mr. McGillicud's gloved hands.
There wasn't blood on his hands.
This is puzzling indeed.
This must be significant somehow, I'm sure of it. I didn't actually see anything myself, no. Not until I heard the scream.
Hold it!
You didn't see anything? Oh, yes, sir. That is to say, no, sir, I didn't. Very sorry about what I said before, sir. Very sorry, yes. It's very wrong of me to make up stories and say I saw him stab the man. Well, wouldn't you agree, sir?
I know what you're insinuating, but I certainly wasn't making up stories.
Still, to say you saw nothing isn't right either, is it? No, sir, I saw nothing at all. Mr. Beepo, you were driving your horses. At the very least, you must have enjoyed a good view of London streets, no? Oh, please. You didn't even see that? It was so cold that you see, it was all I could do to keep from passing out, sir. Yes, my head was fairly frozen solid, sorry to say, sir.
It would seem prudent to avoid travel on the last omnibus service of London's cold winter nights. People!
Ah!
Anyway, the fact remains that there hasn't been anyone else
We all would have seen.
Hold it!
everything you say you saw in the incident was through the skylight on the roof of the omnibus.
That's right. It was fiercely cold that night, but the glass wasn't frosted over.
Oh, yes, I remember. I was shivering. It was so bitter.
Which rather begs the question of why the pair of you were sitting on the roof deck in the first place. Well, I don't know about this, young fellow, but I couldn't enter the cabin.
Oh? Why not?
It was locked from the inside. I tried knocking, but no one opened the door.
It was locked.
That's right, and it's public bus service for peace sake, so that's not what I call fair play.
Yes, I had exactly the same experience. I tried knocking, but the gent inside just gestured at me to clear off. So I had no choice but to climb up to the roof deck and look down longingly into the warm cabin below.
Well, I can assure you I wasn't just looking down, I was glaring long and hard. And that's precisely why I can tell you with absolute confidence that if there was anyone else in that cabin, I would have noticed.
Unequivocal, I would say. I'm not sure about these two witnesses. Could they really have seen everything inside the cabin through the skylight? They might not have been able to. Allow me to confirm one thing, Mr. Fairplay. You were riding this omnibus and witnessed the events in the cabin through the skylight in the floor of the upper deck. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
In that case, there's a portion of the cabin interior that would have been out of sight from you.
What?
By golly, really? Obviously, at this stage, we can't say for sure. But the possibility cannot be denied that at the time of the incident, there could have been another passenger in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus.
Objection!
Enough hypothetical meander, my Nipponese friend. The prosecution demands that you substantiate your claims. After all, the scene of the crime is here, in the flesh. Very well, I will uphold the prosecution's demand. You will identify the area on this cross-sectional plan of the omnibus. Where exactly in the omnibus would you be suggesting that the potential extra passenger could have been situated? Oh, that's simple. Right here.
Take that!
Both rows of seats on the roof face in the direction of travel, whereas the seats in the enclosed cabin face each other, which means the visible part of the cabin which passengers on the roof deck can see through the skylight is as I've drawn here. Oh. That's right, my lord. As you can see, the seat opposite to the one which the victim and his attacker were sitting is obscured from view. In other words, if someone had been sitting on that seat, it's quite possible that these witnesses would have been completely unaware of it. Ugh.
Objection!
It's quite possible some phantom was sitting there. You Nipponese have a forbidden habit of obscuring the truth with ambiguity. I concur with the prosecution's rejoinder. In a British court of law, evidence is paramount. I cannot entertain this conjecture, counsel. That is, unless you are able to put a name to this mysterious passenger to whom you allude.
Can you, Mr. Naruto? I honestly don't know who it could have been. Who could have been the other seat which was out of sight from the witness on the roof deck?
I'm gonna say, because I have a feeling we're supposed to answer that we have an inkling, but I have... Like, can I... Yo, what? So you can just play this game as a straight up visual novel. Court record. Oh, here we go. Let's take a look at people. Judicial assistant sent to Bryn on a study tour. She's the epitome of a refined Japanese lady and a huge help to me always. Lord Chief Justice, who wields absolute authority in judicial matters, including the appointment of lawyers. He's a thoroughly intimidating man. Defendant in this case, an incredibly wealthy philanthropist with a wonderful reputation in London. I'm the defendant as tests to my worthiness to become a lawyer. 32! Right. Prosecution known as the Reaper of the Bailey. Supposedly the souls of those he prosecutes are eternally damned one way or another. Thrice-fried Mason, the victim, a skilled but poor brickmaker who apparently owed the defendant a considerable sum of money. The driver on the omnibus on which the murder took place. He's an eyewitness to the incident. A gentleman... They're close in age, right? A gentleman who works as a seat banker. He witnessed the incident from the seat on the roof deck. Lady first. An apprentice milliner who witnessed it. I understand, my lord. The defense would like to put forward a name. You are a fool. That response was a desperate attempt by a man who has no notion of his own limitations. A toast to hard lessons not yet learned. Let us not delay, counsel. The defense is still to name the passenger in the other seat. This could be it. This could be a chance I've been waiting for to turn the trial in my favor. On that night, the night of the murder, the person was... Okay, there's no way I'm correct in thinking it's him. But, like, these two are on top.
Take that!
Yes, concealed in the blind spot of the cabin that night was none other than this unexpected passenger. Whatever so-called logic you use to arrive at that conclusion, it matters not, because your answer has made one thing abundantly clear. The real blind spot is inside your head, and it would appear to be unusually large. Okay, alright, so you could have just said that's not right. Mr. Naruto, our task here is to defend Mr. McGillid. And we're working on the assumption that he is innocent of this crime. Yes, of course. Why? That must mean then that there is someone else inside the omnibus with Mr. McGillid, the true culprit. It's gonna be the prosecution. It's gotta be. That's right, exactly what I've been... Oh! Of course, so two people sitting inside the cabin that would... Wait, of course, so the two people sitting... And the real culprit. It does seem as though we've all been making a false assumption. The witnesses weren't looking at Mr. McGillid at all. Meaning... Oh, I definitely... No, there was no way I was going to get... Okay, never mind, that's clever. Alright, I wasn't thinking straight. The person... It was Mr. McGillid.
Take that!
The passenger in the enclosed cabin that the witnesses on the roof deck failed to see has to have been Mr. Magnus McGillid. Mr. McGillid? What are you talking about, counsel? That's the name of the defendant.
Objection!
If I desecrate this chamber by smashing my hollow chalice, do forgive the discourtesy. Lord Van Zeeks! People talk of those tiny island nations in the Far East as having a learning and culture of their own. But I see they use the terms ill-advisedly. What are you trying to say? Let me explain in terms that even a student of an artless backwater such as yourself might understand. When the bloody scene unfolded, the victim and his assailant were sitting side by side. Multiple witnesses attested to that fact. It is the very premise on which this case is built.
Objection!
But that premise may be wrong. What? If the victim really was sitting beside Mr. McGillid, it creates an inconsistency that can't be reconciled in any way. What inconsistency, counsel? The defendant's gloves, my lord. Both witnesses made the same testimony. They claimed that there was blood on both hands of the person sitting next to the victim.
Objection!
Yet we know the truth to be otherwise. Only one glove bears the gory remains.
Objection!
The point is, even in the face of this irrefutable evidence, both witnesses have maintained their stance. Yes, their testimonies remained unchanged. Exactly. They both adamantly swear that they clearly remember seeing blood on both hands of the assailant. In short, their memory of the events is correct, and their testimonies reveal the truth. It was somebody else sitting besides the victim that night, a third party we have yet to identify, and the victim's blood was on that passenger's hands, both of them.
Objection!
And who was this third party? Obviously, the true culprit. Extraordinary. Order! What exactly are you postulating?
Objection!
The defense's postulation is just that, nothing more than conjecture. The witnesses have clearly stated that they saw the accused.
Objection!
But when elaborating on his testimony, Mr. Fairplay said the two of them were wearing hats and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. Yes. The tops of their heads were obscured by the roof. I could see the rest of them, though. Yes, that's right. Both gents were most certainly hatted. Hatters do tend to notice such things, sir. And what particular styles of hat do these two gentlemen sport, Mr. First? I'm afraid I don't remember. And you call yourself a hatter? The style of hats makes no difference. There was no third passenger in that cabin. How can you be sure? Because if there had been, the accused, Miss McGillid, would undoubtedly have offered to dispose the fact. Unless, that is, you are proposing an even more preposterous explanation. That the accused failed to even notice the presence of the true culprit in the very cabin in which he traveled. He was asleep. He's right. If there was another person traveling in the enclosed cabin of the omnibus, it's inconceivable that Mr. McGillid would have been unaware of it. Order! There's clearly a simple solution to this problem. Bring the accused, Mr. McGillid, to the stand. Well, what say you, counsel? The prosecution objects, my lord. On what grounds? As a suspect, he will have already made a full statement to the police. But what if there's some reason why he's unable to speak freely? Magnus McGillid is no uneducated ruffian. If it indeed turns out the man has been withholding information, you can be sure it will have been a most deliberate act. Counsel for the defense, what is your opinion? My lord, should we ask Mr. McGillid to testify or not? Demand he testifies. Yes, we need to hear what he has to say in order to find out the truth. The defense would like to call Mr. McGibbon to the stand. In that case, I would like to hear the opinion of the jury. Yes, I need a little time to consider this. If you ask me, I think we should hear what Mr. McGillard has to say. Get the man out here, I say! It would be utterly illogical to not hear his testimony. When something needs doing, get it done. That's how I run things at the guild. Hearing what the patron of my favorite little park has to say. Oh yes, that would be lovely. Yes, the jury says the man must be heard. Very well. The court will hear the defendant's testimony. Bailiff, show the defendant to the stand at once. Now, maybe what actually happened that night will finally become clear. To be continued? Nope. The proceedings resume in the next episode, because oh boy, is this long. Alright, yeah. I think we'll start recording for today. Maybe I'll go back to it later. I don't know, but yeah, so as always, wait. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. And as always, stay safe, have fun, and have a great day.